Swopped at birth. Hi guys, thank you for dropping by. Welcome to Granny's Youth GodPod number 4, talking about Moses. Have you ever wondered what it would be like if you'd been brought up in a different family, or a different country, or a different culture or way of doing things? I recently saw on YouTube the case of 2 teenage boys who were given at birth to the wrong mothers by a hospital in America. The mistake was found when one of the lads had blood tests that showed he couldn't be his parent's child. One lad had an affluent family, but the other had a single mother and a comparatively poorer lifestyle. I thought it was interesting that the lad with the richer family came across as a little arrogant. He was all right, Jack, and seemed less concerned for his true birth mother. The lad brought up by the single parent was concerned for his mum, but at the same time happy to meet his true mother. Could you imagine exchanging your life with someone else, and how the parents might feel? Perhaps it would seem a great idea to move into a family that had lots of money. But the lad who had more things seemed less mature, while the poorer lad seemed to be older and wiser because of the financial struggles he had experienced growing up. The families had loved their children for years and decided after all this time it was best for things to stay as they were. It seemed to me that knowing the truth in this case had made life for everybody involved more complicated without making anyone much happier. In any case, none of us can turn the clock back. Moses is a very important person in the Bible, and he too was not brought up by his birth family. During the first year of his life, Moses was swapped into another family. For his mother, that was a sacrifice better than her beautiful baby son being killed. Moses' parents, Amram and Jochebed, were Hebrew descendants of Levi, who was the 3rd son of Jacob and a leader of one of the 12 tribes of Israel. Amram and Jochebed were married and had a daughter called Miriam. After 12 years they had a son called Aaron. 3 years later they had another son, a beautiful child, who was born during the time Pharaoh decreed all Hebrew male newborns should be thrown into the Nile. What was that all about? Well, the Hebrews were useful as slaves, but Pharaoh was afraid the population had grown large enough for them to take over the Egyptians or to join with their enemies. The Hebrews had always worked the land, but Pharaoh made them work even harder in mortar and brick, aiming to make their lives bitter. Pharaoh saw that the worse his taskmasters treated the Hebrews, the more they multiplied. So he turned to plan B. He called in 2 midwives, Shiphrah and Puah, and instructed them that when they assisted the Hebrew women, they were to kill all the male babies. If your job was to help babies into the world, how would you feel being told to murder some of them? When Pharaoh asked them why his plan was not working, the midwives said, "The Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women. They give birth quickly before we get there." This led to Pharaoh's 3rd plan, to have all the male Hebrew babies thrown into the Nile. Why only males? It was the men who were generally involved in warfare. It would destroy the Hebrew lines of descendants. If the Egyptian men intermarried with the Hebrew girls, their race would be absorbed. And it is also said that Pharaoh's stargazers had told him a boy would be born to save the Jews, which is similar to what the Magi said about Jesus. The Bible says Jochebed managed to hide her beautiful child for 3 months. Nowadays, mothers are advised that once a baby can roll over, it should no longer be wrapped in swaddling clothes. So maybe the baby's increasing mobility was the reason Jochebed felt she couldn't hide him anymore. What was she to do? She prepared an ark of bulrushes, daubed with asphalt and pitch, exactly what we use on our roads. Put the child inside and laid it in the reeds by the riverbank. Miriam stood by at a distance, nervously watching over her brother. Then along came Pharaoh's daughter and her maidens walking by the riverside. When she saw the ark, she sent her maidservant to get it. Miriam must have had her heart in her mouth. Would Pharaoh's daughter disobey her father's orders? When Pharaoh's daughter looked in the ark, the child cried, and she felt so sorry for this beautiful baby. She said, "This is one of the Hebrews' children." Just then Miriam appeared and offered to find Pharaoh's daughter a nurse for the child, and fetched her mother. Pharaoh's daughter said, "Take this child, nurse him for me, and I'll pay you wages." How ironic that the child's new adoptive mother would pay wages for his real mother to nurse him. When the child had grown, Jochebed brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She called him Moses because she drew him out of the water. The name Moses is difficult to translate because it is similar to both Hebrew and Egyptian words. In Hebrew, it is Moshe, and it means he who draws out, in a continuous action, not a completed act. Even though Moses was educated as an Egyptian in Pharaoh's court, he didn't forget his Hebrew roots. The New Testament tells us that when Moses came of age, he refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. And even though she saved his life by adopting him, she is not important enough to be named, unlike the 2 midwives who saved many Hebrew babies. If someone is named in the Bible, we can assume they are important. The name Shiphrah comes from the Hebrew shofar, translated as beauty, which parallels the baby Moses' beauty. And Pur can mean both a light shining or to cry out, as happened when Pharaoh's daughter opened the ark and the light shone in, making the baby Moses cry out. How's that for a mic-dropping moment, guys? That's it for now. Have a great day, and don't worry about hospitals making mistakes. These days, babies are given bracelets as soon as they are born to identify them. See you next time. Bye now.